Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. As we're going to have so many things to talk about today, you might just go insane, but that's fine because we're going to get into all of your chats presented by Basis Health and getting into the vibe check of what everybody wants to talk about today. We'll also have some Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas summer discussion. And we always appreciate them being a part of it. We're also going to look at the futures for Razorback Football presented by BetSaracen and have our heavy hitters presented by HD Roofing and Construction, as well as getting to all the things going on in the sports world. But fellas, it's a Tuesday. How are we feeling here on the very first day of the month of July in 2025?
Feeling good. Feeling great. The first day of July, the first day of a new era of college athletics. Those revenue share checks are going out to everybody. I haven't received mine yet. I'm waiting for that PayPal to hit, but maybe sooner rather than later. But no, I'm doing good, man. Feels good to be home. Drove home from St. Louis through the night and pulled up at the crib about 2:30 a.m. Got a few hours of sleep, and I just woke up fired up and pissed off for greatness, ready to talk to you boys.
Well, it's good to see you. It's good to see you back in your normal location, and happy that you made it back safe and had a great weekend, productive. I think we're all in good spirits today for whatever reason. John's got his cool Easter themed shirt, which is like not his other Easter themed shirt, but he wears a lot of shirts that are Easter colors. I'm wearing my Houston hat that always throws off the chat a little bit. Me and Curtis are matching with the A's. Like I just feel like all is well. Like it's like this is just what's supposed to happen. It feels right today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like it's a beachy summer vibe shirt, but you know me, I like to be subtle when it comes to my clothing line. But yeah, it's like this is kind of the excuse if I can wear it and at least not get too much crap. If I wear this thing in December, kind of weird. But yeah, listen, it's about having fun, man. It's summertime. It's chill. It's just everybody knows what the situation is when it comes to college athletics. As far as not having any games on the field or on the court or anything like that, but there's still news coming out from it and getting excited for that, getting excited for the video game coming out here very soon. So all the things putting together, it's a lot of fun. And I know yesterday we had a good conversation about Taylen Green and quarterbacks and everything for Arkansas and where it stands and how there's a lot of positive that can come from that. And also the kind of the expectation that's there for Taylen Green. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and segue into that on the other side of what Taylen Green's going to have to be dealing with. Because, yes, quarterbacks have to have a good offensive line. They got to have good tight ends. They got to have running backs. But it's about who they're throwing the ball to. And I thought about with the wide receiver position. I talked a little bit on my Locked On podcast this morning. But, guys, we know Arkansas's actually had a pretty good run here recently of at least one elite-level wide receiver in the SEC. It goes back to Traylon Burks. We know how great he was. First-round pick there in the NFL draft. After that, Matt Landers, really good wide receiver. Even a Jaden Hazelwood was really good. You had some options there. Then Andrew Armstrong, led the SEC in receptions and receiving yards last year. So point is that they've had some other good wide receivers, but they've had a run where they've had at least one, like high level, one of the better ones in the SEC type of wide receiver, 1,000-yard receiving yards type of wide receiver. But this year's a little bit different because, not to say that it's impossible for it, but you just don't really know. You don't really know if one of these guys are going to be at. So I pose it to you and to everybody watching and listening when it comes to the wide receiver position. Do you feel like Arkansas has one of those caliber type of wide receivers right now? And if you don't believe that they do, who would be the best option or the best chance of them having that type of wide receiver?
Yeah, to answer that first question, John, I think, if you put a gun to my head and made me answer, I'd probably say no, that I don't see that caliber of guy. But if you wound back the clock 2 years ago to when Andrew Armstrong first got on campus, and I know they were excited about him and, he was heavily recruited and everything, but I don't know that I looked at him and was like, yeah, there's your 1,000-yard receiver. Here's the guy that's going to lead the SEC in receptions and yards. And I don't know that I saw that either. So I might have been a little bit more optimistic about the potential with him than I am with this current crop, but that doesn't mean that they don't have it in there. So I'll be anxious to see how it all shakes out. I don't believe that we got a whole bunch of clarity there in the spring, did we? And I think that was evidenced by, the coaching staff going out in the spring portal when they had other pretty glaring needs, and bringing in multiple receivers after they spent so much time and resources on it in the winter portal area there. So if I had to pick a guy, I mean, Omega Blake has been my guy from the beginning. He can get over the top. He had the one of the highest yards per reception in the country. In terms of size, he would be the guy that might stand out from the crowd a little bit. Now they're going to be smaller than they have been in years past for sure. So if I had to pick one, I think he would be the guy. Wild card. Crutchfield, even though we haven't heard any good reports about him at all.
My wild card is Cam Shanks, because now he's coming off a freshman year where obviously he made a lot of plays, not necessarily in a traditional wide receiver go-to guy, mostly punt return, reverse sweeps, that kind of thing. And I think he's going to do plenty of that at Arkansas, but he's also so young in his career and clearly has ability. Like there's clearly a lot of talent there. If you don't return whatever, all the punt return yardage he did, that doesn't happen on accident. Like you have to be pretty good with the ball in your hands. And so I think as he develops, he's not going to be that traditional go-to 6'3" on the edge guy. Like he's going to be a slot guy, but I think the things that Arkansas can maybe do with him would be interesting. And so maybe he's a guy that by the end of his sophomore year, we're like, oh, you know what? This is a guy that maybe has some talent, could maybe be a professional or something like that. I think Omega Blake is certainly the closest thing to an NFL wide receiver they probably have on the roster as it stands today, because he's got a ton of experience and he's got some big play threat. I don't think they definitely don't have like a Traylon Burks level talent, but I do think they have some guys that are older, mature, have some experience. I mean, even a guy like Raylan Sharp, who certainly I don't think has that like next level talent like that jumps off the page at you, but this is a guy that's just been a consistent overachiever his entire career, so it's not going to stun me at all if he ends up being a productive SEC receiver, but I don't know if they necessarily have, to answer the initial question, that 1,000-yard threat, that legit draft pick threat that they've had the last few years. That's not to say it won't be a good wide receiver room, but you definitely don't have that on paper talent that you kind of can depend on and rely upon. But I think Omega Blake is certainly the closest thing to that when you take into account the resume he had at Charlotte last year. He's played in the SEC before, and he checked some of those physical boxes with his size and his athleticism.
Yeah, I mean, Omega Blake is, to me, one of the more obvious answers because of how highly regarded he was coming out of the transfer portal. He was a guy who had a lot of different offers to a lot of different really good schools, and they kind of moved him into that spot. But going back, I went just back to listening to Bobby Petrino and the spring press conference that he had, and when he was asked about the wide receivers, I should pull the clip, but he was basically like, they got to learn how to run routes, and they got to learn the playbook, and they got to learn how to do things and get in the offense, which is not to say that, they're trash, they're not any good, but it was still a level that you could tell from him of like, we're not totally sold on this just yet, in which, as you said, Curtis, they kind of went in and got some other guys. So to me, Omega Blake is the guy that I would pick. I'm surprised somebody's going to get in here and say Monty Harrison. I'm not doing that because it's just going to result in some sort of crazy controversy. But I will say, though, this is just my wild card for the sake of variety and just to be weird with it. I'm going to take Antonio Jordan because he is, without question, the biggest target you have at the wide receiver position. He's a true freshman. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. I remember when Arkansas signed him, I'm like, good grief, this guy, he could play defensive end. It's like he was that big coming in. And also, I'm sure this has a lot to do with it, but he's from Warren. And I don't know if y'all knew this. Warren has a knack, really, for producing guys that are really good at catching footballs.
And tomatoes.
Yeah, it's like the little lumberjacks, man.
Antonio Jordan, am I correct in believing that he was not on campus this spring? Like he was not there for spring practice. He's going to enroll this summer and be there for the fall?
Correct.
So we talked about how there was nobody in spring that really there was nobody to write those, holy cow, this guy's turning heads story. Antonio Jordan might be the odds-on favorite for the first day of fall camp. Whoa, this is our first look at this guy, especially with his size. I can already see that one materializing in front of us.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. That's a really good point. Yeah, when it's a guy that you didn't see every day in spring, and then he just happens to be bigger than all the other guys in his position group, it's like, oh man, there he is.
I mean, that's what happened with Taylen, because it was Trey Knox
Exactly.
that stole the show in the spring, and then nobody, Taylen was a 4-star recruit. Everyone was excited, but like when he got to fall camp, I think there was a little bit of a whoa. And obviously, I'm not saying he's going to be Taylen Burks. He wasn't quite that highly regarded coming out of Warren, but it wouldn't be the first time we've been stunned in fall camp by a Warren wide receiver.
This is true, man. My immediate thoughts on some of these guys is like what you kind of hold out hope for that could materialize. Like when I think about a Courtney Crutchfield, and we just didn't hear much about him at all openly, publicly, throughout the course of the spring, and then behind the scenes, it's kind of like, we'll see. Maybe he's one of those guys that just shows up under the lights. Like, the talent is there. So could he be a guy that gets a crack, in week 1 or whatever, then all of a sudden he goes out there and has 4 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. And it's like, oh yeah, he's really good. He's not great in practice. You had those guys all the time. I like the Antonio Jordan thing. Like if you had to pick a freshman who could make an impact there, that makes sense. I wonder, what they might have in that, the Jaylen Brown, the kid from Florida State they got in the spring, who was, he's like a top 100 guy or whatever out of high school, trying to tap back into that. There's just a lot of what ifs with these guys. Like Ishmael Cece might be the one who's their most reliable, but maybe one of the least talented, if that makes sense. Like they'll probably throw it to him and he'll catch it kind of guy. Shanks and Sharp are like the little dudes who will at least be able to get open, but you just wonder about, how's that going to hold up in the SEC and everything. CJ Brown, I think, is one that we probably should talk about more. I mean, he's maybe the most experienced guy coming back in that room. And he had some moments there. I know they were really high on him last year. So you have all these guys who could potentially take a step forward and could potentially become competent SEC receivers or good SEC receivers. Just none of them have done it yet. And so there's just a lot of what ifs. And what do you need? 3 or 4 of those guys to pan out and be pretty damn good for you.
CJ Brown's certainly an interesting one because, I think even going back to last spring when he first got to campus, like you could tell he was a guy that was already working with the second team, like was on an upward trajectory, and they saw something in him. And when Bobby Petrino's yelling at him and telling him how to get lined up and all that, he's doing that because he sees something in him. And it did not go well for him his freshman year. There's no doubt about it. And it actually reminds me a little bit of Drew Morgan's freshman year. John, if you can remember that, Drew Morgan didn't redshirt his first year at Arkansas. They played him in like 3 games, and it always went horribly. They would try to get the ball to him, and something would go wrong. They'd bring him in for a 2-point conversion. Quarterback would get sacked, or he got targeted against Alabama. Like he had just some weird things happen, and the same with C.J. Brown. They would bring him in. Taylen Green would overthrow him against UAPB for a touchdown. They bring him in against UAB. He has a horrible drop. They bring him in against Texas. He has a bad fumble. Like something always went wrong, and I'm sure that's something that fired CJ up and kind of motivates him going into a sophomore year. But I think it's something that Arkansas went out of their way to try and create opportunities for CJ Brown because they saw something in him. And I'm not saying that Missouri didn't see anything in Courtney Crutchfield, but he wasn't even on that. He wasn't in the 2-deep, wasn't getting reps, wasn't getting opportunities, wasn't on the travel roster. I think there's something to that like we have 2 receivers from the state of Arkansas. Obviously, Courtney Crutchfield, when they were coming out of high school, was rated a little bit higher. But CJ, in his college career, has actually had an SEC team look at him and say, hey, let's try and make something for this guy. And I feel like we never talk about CJ Brown, and we talk about Courtney Crutchfield all the time. And again, that's just because of the narrative surrounding both and him being a transfer addition. He's a new kid on the block. But if you really think about it, it's kind of crazy we don't ever talk about CJ Brown, considering how often Arkansas was like trying to create things for him. And that was with a receiving core that had 2 NFL guys.
Yeah, no, and that's where it actually leads into our Alumni Hall question of the day when we're talking about wide receivers. And if you want to go to Alumni Hall, right there, 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville, you can get all the greatest Razorback apparel. You can also shop them online at InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall. Use that promo code Hogs by 20 for 20% off your purchase. You can get sweet shirts like what Andrew and Curtis are wearing. Not this one, though. I don't think they sell what I'm wearing there at Alumni Hall. But they do have Hawaiian shirts, though, for Razorback apparel. So check them out today. It's Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. I asked the audience and polled the audience of which Razorback wide receiver do you think is going to lead the Hogs in wide receiving or in receiving yards this upcoming season. Not to say they're like leading the SEC or anything like that. I made the choices of Omega Blake, Courtney Crutchfield, Ishmael Cece, and then other, which of course you have to list. Not surprisingly, 42% of you say Omega Blake, 38% say Courtney Crutchfield, which the reason I'm bringing it up is kind of going with the narrative. I'm not saying Courtney Crutchfield's a bad player. I'm not saying he can't play this year, but there's definitely an element of like, hey, we want this guy to be good. Like people want him to be really good because of the in-state angle, because of the transfer, because of all of that. He was a 4-star player. I believe the number 1 player coming out of the state of Arkansas a couple seasons ago. So there's a desire there. Ismail Cece gets 10.1% of the vote, while other also gets 10.1%, which of course some people are being stupid and saying like Rykar Acebo, but also Raylan Sharp seems to be the one that's also voted there. So, but Omega Blake, according to the audience, is what people feel like this is going to be the go-to wide receiver for Arkansas this year.
I tend to think if Crutchfield looked like what they wanted him to be, they wouldn't have gone out and gotten, more receivers in the spring. I think I have a little case of, leave it to the tall guy here to be sizest. And I don't think I'm giving Sharp enough respect. Like, I think I'm just looking at him being a little guy and I'm just like, and I'm kind of writing him off, and I shouldn't be that way. I really shouldn't. I'm officially, as we turn the page to July, I'm officially coming around on Raylan Sharp. I'm going to get on that train, I think.
I like Raylan Sharp, man. I think, again, he's an overachiever everywhere he's gone. I mean, even going back to this is a guy who was like basically a walk-on at Missouri State, had to work his way onto the field there, does that. Goes to D1, has to work his way onto the field there, does that. Now he's in the SEC. He's very well on his way to – he's going to be a starter for this team, most likely. He's going to be on the field. He's going to make plays for Arkansas. Like, just continually, like, is a guy that – and it seems like the makeup with him, like, he really is a driven, focused – mature kid. I mean, again, you have to be to fight the way that he has in his career. There's not really a ton of margin for error with him. And I think the thing that when I look about his production at Arkansas, like, I don't think he's going to have that downfield threat, which is why I think he's going to guaranteed be like, he has a very high floor if he's going to contribute, but I also like, don't know like what the ceiling is there. Omega Blake, when I look at him, and I think we all agree on the same page here, like, again, led the country last year in yards per reception, like 24 yards per reception. That gives him a lot of margin for error. He can go 2 quarters without doing anything and then make one 40-yard catch, and it's like, oh, wow, this game is completely different. I think he's going to probably lead the team in receiving yardage, I should say, not going to lead the team in receptions. He only caught 32 passes last year. Now, he had almost 800 yards with those 32 receptions, but, like, that's not even 3 a game. Like, he's going to have some 1 catch for 9-yard games. He might even – and then he might have some games where it's like 3 catches for 120 yards. Like, he's going to be that kind of guy. But I think he has a lot of margin for error because just one play can completely change the game. And I feel like most of Arkansas's other receiving options, like a CC, like a Sharp, don't really have that threat. And so I think Omega Blake kind of has to lead this team in receiving. And I think it's going to be in the Matt Landers-esque kind of way, although that's asking a lot because Landers had like 900 yards.
John, listen, don't let this get to your head, okay? But last night, me and my buddy were driving back to Fayetteville. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I got the notification on my phone. I was like, oh, John's podcast just came out. Let's listen to it. And so we did that. Okay. I don't flatter yourself. But anyway, we listened to it, and I thought it was interesting. You were talking about the size or the lack of size, comparatively speaking, in this wide receiver room. And it really got me to thinking more about guys like Raylan Sharp and Cam Shanks, because, Taylen, he's not always hitting his target. Right. And so from that standpoint, you're like, all right, the bigger the receiver, the more room for him to get a ball that's maybe it's not thrown right on the numbers. The other part of it is maybe you have guys who run better routes, which sounds like that's something they need to work on, or guys who can just create some separation and get open, because Taylen was throwing in a lot of tight windows. Even a guy who wound up being as sure-handed and athletic and test off the charts or whatever as Isaac Tesla, he wasn't wide open all the time. He just caught balls that were thrown at him and touched his hands. Maybe these dudes like Sharp and Shanks, who are quick and shifty, they're going to be able to get out in space and get open a little bit, and you have some more space and some room for Taylen to hit his targets, and that could be an opportunity for those guys to rack up the yardage a little bit.
Well, yeah, and that's I'm glad thank you for listening. But yes, also that's kind of where I was at too, of just get the ball in their hands and create something. Because Petrino, and I obviously we could look at his time at Louisville and everything, but like at least at Arkansas, he had an absolute obsession with his wide receivers, valuing speed over all. Like, yes, you have to run routes. Yes, you have to catch the ball. And I think Arkansas was very much gifted with wide receivers that could do all the above. But it was speed. And even the guys like for instance, Kobe Hamilton. Kobe Hamilton was about 6'2", 6'3". The dude was a track star. Like he came from Texarkana where he ran the 4x100 with him and LaMichael James. You guys remember him? That was their two group guys there, and they dominated. Greg Childs even was, because he was 6'5", people thought, well, maybe he's not as fast, but still, he was 6'5" and ran a 4.4 940. Incredible. Joe Adams, Jarius Wright, like those were shorter guys, but Marquell Wade even, like random guys like that. He just valued speed so much. And it's kind of like he wants to put, hey, I can find ways as long as they can outrun everybody. As you say, get open a little bit easier. Have the deep ball threat to where they just burn everybody. Let's do that. And that's what I guess maybe my hope is with this group, is that they just have more speed than anybody else. And it could be extremely helpful to them. But also, to throw another thing into it, the Taylen Green angle. Petrino wanted Taylen Green. He got Taylen Green. That's the quarterback he wanted. I'm curious if what he had with the wide receiver group, it's almost like, hey, I'll make this work. These aren't the guys that I would have recruited or that I want in this system or I want for Taylen, but we'll make it work. Now it's like, hey, we're losing all these guys, so let's shift towards something a little bit differently. Maybe I'm looking in too much into it, but I feel like there is a possibility of that concept not only being there, but also working for Arkansas and having speed overall.
I think the offensive line is also another valid part of this equation because you don't really know what you have there. Obviously, you assume it's going to be better than last year. We've all kind of agreed on that like it should be improved a little bit. But if you think about what Arkansas did with Bobby Petrino back in the day, like it was it was a different era. It was a lot more pro style, under center, long developing play action, taking shots downfield, like stuff that kind of needs to have a good offensive line. Like it would have been really hard for them to do everything they did with all those guys you just mentioned if they didn't have a productive O-line. And so when I think about what with that question mark you have there, I think when Bobby Petrino is building this offense, you mentioned getting the ball out of Taylen's hands and just things you can just pick up easily. And Tesla made some big plays for Arkansas. Satania made big plays for Arkansas. But I think that was something the offense missed last year, is just having those quick 6 yards, quick 7 yards here, quick get the ball out of his hands. And now you look at some of these receivers and they kind of have that type of skill set. And for Taylen, with what they're going to ask Taylen to do in the run game and for making big plays and just kind of making things fly off the hand, when things go off script, they're going to need to give him some easy the comfortable throws to get him in the flow of the game. And I think that's something that he didn't really get a ton of last year. And I think also the offensive line just put them behind the 8 ball. But I definitely think that with what they're going to ask Taylen to do this season, it's going to be a lot. He's going to have to carry a heavy load, but that doesn't mean you have to make it hard on him every single play. They have to find ways to just get some of these guys the ball and let them make plays quickly. And that's why I think I just keep coming back to Cam Shanks, where I'm like, that's got to be kind of their cheat code guy. I mean, Kendrick Law's a guy we were talking about right before the show got off. When they were thinking about bringing him in, that was the entire premise, was like having a guy like this that you can just jet sweep, tap pass, quick little bubble action. Arkansas really didn't have a ton of that, even though they probably should have with a guy like Satania.
You're right about the offensive line stuff, man, for sure. So many times last year, Taylen would take the snap and he'd have very large, athletic, mean human beings breathing down his neck. And it was, where's Andrew Armstrong? You just throw it in the direction where he was supposed to be. And he was always there and he always caught it. I don't know that they have a guy like that this year, but you're right. The offensive line just gives them a little bit more time. And with kind of the variety of the types of options he has there, maybe that'll be beneficial for him.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's not to say that there is just nothing there for Taylen Green to throw to. It's just mysterious. We don't really know what to expect. Fall camp is going to be telling a lot, but they do have bodies. They do have guys that have some elements to them that could be really successful. So it's just a matter of, do they fit in what Petrino's trying to do? I will make this little hot take, fellas, that I believe that Taylen Green will have significantly more passing plays. You got to make sure I put that, passing plays of 20 or more yards this season than what he did last year. I think significantly more. It may be one of those like home run balls or strikeouts type of thing where it's either a lot of big plays or, a lot of 3 and outs. It could be something like that, but I think that they're going to try to have and utilize a lot of the speed that these guys have to try to go over the top and burn a lot of people. So, maybe that's something we can all look forward to. But either way, We'll get to a lot of your chats, folks. I know there's a lot to discuss, but this actually just happened in the beginning, or at least in the middle of the show so far, is because we were talking about, hey, who's good, who's not good, or who's going to be the best and whatever. But the EA Sports college football video game is continuing to put out their little teasers and everything. And now we have a little bit of an idea of the Razorback ratings on the game and who is the highest and where the rest of it goes into play. And so they Razorbacks put out this little graphic where the top rated Hogs on the video game, Fernando Carmona, is the highest rated Razorback at 92 overall. Omega Blake, the wide receiver we just discussed, the new transfer, 87 overall. And Taylen Green, QB1, at 86 overall. We'll bring up the other numbers and graphics here. But guys, do you feel like this is right? Feel fair for these three players and where they're rated at?
Carmona must be that dude. I wonder if they have him listed as a guard or a tackle on the game, and how it impacts if they shift him inside
center.
I bet they have him as a guard, and I don't think it takes that much to be highly rated as a guard. If you Curtis, once you get into the recruiting, and once you take over a program, you'll learn you always have that option in the offseason of position changes. If you've got an 84 left tackle, move him to right guard, he'll be 91. Like, it's just like one of those things, and I always eagle with it when I need to.
I wonder where Corey Robinson is on this list, if he's on this list. I know we'll look at that in a second. Omega Blake at 87. That's pretty high praise there for a guy transferring up into the SEC. And I know he had good production, but it wasn't like crazy. So they must really value his ability to get over the top and catch the deep ball. Taylen at an 86. I like that a lot. I think that's about right for Taylen.
I think that's about right for Taylen. I also think Taylen, for anybody that actually wants to play this game, Taylen is one of the best. He was last year, he was like 81, 82 or something like that. He was pretty fun to play with. Like, he's one of the more quarterbacks, obviously, in the country. It has a lot of the good skill sets. I think 86 is about right. For Omega Blake, that definitely is interesting. I'll be interested to see what his speed rating is. I didn't see him on the top 10 list, so we know it's not 97 or higher. But I bet he's got 93, 94 speed. I mean, the best deep threat in the country last year. That definitely probably had to play into it. I think that's interesting. I don't know if I would have expected Omega Blake to be that high, but I'm not going to complain about it.
The biggest question here for Taylen Green is not his rating, but if they fixed his hair.
Yeah.
Long dreads.
Yeah. That hopefully they have some sort of in between where you don't have to have dreads down to your mid back or no dreads at all. Like, hopefully they at least fix that. But I will say, guys, compared to, I just put up the ratings for what it was last year. So Carmona's 92 overall. The highest rated player for Arkansas last year was Landon Jackson at 91 overall. So to kind of give you a little bit of an idea, after that was Luke Haas at 88, and then Jaquinton Jackson was 86. So you have basically three players that your top three players being around the same ratings at least, but this time it's Carmona, Omega Blake, as well as Taylen Green. Because last year Taylen Green was an 80 overall, so he jumped up 6 spots as far as his rating goes and everything like that. And of course, most of the other players are no longer on the team or anything. But the no-fly zone Hudson Clark was 85 overall, but I don't know if they're going to be able to replace him or not. But either way, that's 3 of them. Now going into the next set of ratings. 83 overall, 82 overall. Yeah, 83 overall, you have quite a few of Braylon Russell, Phillip Lee, Jaheim Singletary, Cam Shanks, and Mike Washington. And then at 82 overall, you have Larry Worth III, Jordan Young, Connie Walker, Raylan Sharp, Cam Ball, Devin Bale, shout out to him, Selman Bridges, and Quincy Rhodes Jr.
Jaheim Singletary PR team out of this world, bro.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Also, Selman, I've never played Bridges too.
Yeah, where's Sorry on this list?
No Sorry. I already tweeted about that. That's ridiculous.
I could see an argument for Sorry being like 85, 86.
Yeah. Him not being in the top. I mean, what is that? 8? That's a lot of guys. That's
Cam Ball should be a little disrespected too, low key. I mean, like Cam Ball and Larry Worth. I like Larry Worth a lot. I like him, but like, I feel like there's different levels there.
Well, because like here's the thing. So looking at if I'm doing my math correctly, which is always nerve-wracking, but that's 16 players that's listed. You're telling me that Xavier Sorey is not one of the top 16 players on the Razorback football team? Get out of here with that.
That's wild. That, and then I mean, I thought it was a nice pickup and an underrated pickup, but like Phillip Lee, I'm not even that upset about him being an 83 as I am just him being over a guy like Cam Ball or even Quincy Rhodes, who's at least done this in the SEC. It's, it's not a knock on Phillip Lee. I'm just saying I don't understand the thought process here.
Connie Walker, great young man, great man of character, man of faith, prides himself as being a man of faith. 82 overall, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and also to give you guys this a little idea there, Cam Ball, 82 overall. You want to guess his rating last year?
82.
82 overall.
I remember being like, I mean, I played the game a good bit, but I remember it being kind of similar.
Yeah. So he didn't jump. Quincy Rhodes though is at 82. He was 76 last year. So he had a pretty big jump there. Let's see if
they're never going to replace video game All-American Eric Gregory. Like Arkansas on this game will be
or 85 or something like that last year.
Yeah. Let's see. They didn't even have, I don't think they had Larry Worth even on the game last year, at least not in the beginning part of it. So I was trying to just see if, like, comparatively speaking, where these other guys were rated last year. Of course, like Braylon Russell was 70 overall, jumped up to 83. Not surprised there. Singletary, though, he was 80 overall last year. Now he's jumped up to 83.
That's just a former 5-star thing. Gotta be.
Has to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't really know what to think. I mean, I know that they're just video game ratings. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to know the thought process. I'd love to know the ins and outs of what they do and how they approach this when it comes to the ratings themselves. Because in the top 3 players on there, I didn't have any issues with it. We could argue about, is Carmona 92 overall or just a 90? Like, yeah, we could argue that. But as far as the ratings go and where the players line up and all of that, again, the Xavier Sori thing is the most absurd thing I've seen on this. Like, I cannot believe they did not have him as one of the top 16 players.
For me, I look at this and I feel like Sori should be rated above every one of these guys that's pictured right now. And then maybe Steven Dix should be on this list. Yeah. Like maybe he should be a guy. And who the hell knows? Maybe he's an 81 or something on the game. But Sori not being on, it's egregious. It has to either be an oversight or he didn't opt into the game or so. Like there's no way that Xavier Sori is on this roster on this video game and he's like an 80 overall. There's no way.
I mean, I'm not trying to be dramatic and add to this. Like, it'd be one thing if it's like, hey, you could make some arguments. Xavier Sori is better at football than every single person on the screen right now.
He is.
Like, every single one of them. It's not like, we could maybe switch him out with Connie. It's like literally every single person on that screen. Like I would have him comfortably rated above.
Yeah,
he's the best player on defense, man. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah, I'm shocked by that. But hey, here's the good news, though, folks. You know, you're always talking about, hey, Arkansas doesn't have any good players and everything. Hey, they do have a top 10 player in one of the things here on the video game, and that's the fastest player, Jordan Anthony at number 4, except Jordan Anthony's not actually on the team anymore. So
listen, aside from the hilarious fact that he's not on the team and he's not going to play football, but we'll still get to play with him on the video game, I also think if you win the entire national championship in track, you should probably be number 1 fastest players on the game, right? I mean, I feel like he's earned that right given the unreal year. Jordan Anthony, one of the most accomplished athletes on campus at U of A.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering, why is he the 4th at 99 speed? Why wasn't he number 1? Are we not doing alphabetical order here? You know, isn't that what you're supposed to do, Big J journalist out there? You're supposed to, if things are even, you got to go in alphabetical or some crap like that. Why is he only at number 4? Why isn't he above Nick Harbor? You know?
Yeah, and then if you were going in alphabetical order by team name, he'd be up there too. This is it's egregious. Just is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Can't believe they screwed over the player that's not on the team anymore.
No respect.
If any of those 3 young men, Pleasant, Brown, and Harbor, want to line up on the track and duel it out with Jordan Anthony, be our guest.
Exactly.
Yeah, would love to see that. But also, too, wanted to bring this up, and this doesn't have Arkansas, but top 20 quarterbacks rated in the game in college football. Do you guys see anything from this that is a little like, don't know about that? Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, and Drew Aller, Aller is the top 3 quarterbacks all rated at 92.
John Mateer
said that Taylen should be a 90, and so I'm pulling this up just to say, well, now we have all the quarterback ratings, and I'm curious if you still feel that way. after seeing how they rated some of the other guys. I'm not saying that you're wrong if you do feel that way. I just wonder if you do after seeing some of these dudes on here. Your boy Nussmeier, Andrew, I call him your boy. I know he's not really your boy, but you think he's about that life, one of the best or the best to be in the country?
Well, it's tough because it's like I think he's as good or not, if not better than Drew Aller. I think that's probably like the right range, but I think the fact that all the quarterbacks that are the best in the country are 92 tells you a little bit. Like it's like there's not really that frontline top level quarterback in college football this year, but there's a lot of really older kids that are really good. Like Klubnik's been around for a while. I think he's a senior now, or I guess he'll be a junior now. Him, Nussmeier, very experienced. Aller's a 3-year starter. The Levitt kid, he's also a 4-year guy. Like, there's a lot of really older, like pretty good quarterbacks, and I think Nussmeier fits in there. Kevin Jennings, SMU, I think is a little too low here. I like him. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in college football. Definitely better than Arch Manning and Carson Beck and John Mateer.
I was about to say that when I see John Mateer and Carson Beck up there to 91, that seems pretty high to me.
Low key. I can see the case for overrated or underrated for Nico Iamaleava. Like if we're assuming he's going to be the same level player, I think he's probably a 90-plus guy, but he's also not practiced with his team, so maybe he's not an 88.
I also see Colorado with Caden Salter, which it's like I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback, and I'm also saying like this is tough because you're who are you going to put above him or whatever. But I feel like that's just like a Deion Sanders Colorado bias there, where a guy who literally threw for 1,800 yards last year at Liberty, and he goes Colorado's 88 overall. It's like okay.
As someone who bet on Liberty multiple times last year, Caden Salter is not one of the top 40 quarterbacks in the country. I'm telling you right now, he's not.
You know who is? Diego Pavia, baby.
That's right.
Love that. I absolutely love that he's getting his respect on there.
Curtis, Darian Mensah's my guy. He was at Tulane last year.
Yeah,
9-5 at 2 or 9-4 at Tulane, and now he's at Duke. I wanted Arkansas to go after him. Honestly, I was like, I think that dude's nasty. He ended up. He was the guy that like took a fat NIL deal, and his coach like went out and like dragged Duke publicly. He's like, well, now I got to go to the bowl game with a backup quarterback because they just decided to take my QB.
Yeah. They got, I guess, only 3 quarterbacks from the SEC, or 4 quarterbacks, I guess, from the SEC listed with Nussmeier, Mateer, Arch Manning, or DJ Lagway, and then Diego. So 5. Okay.
Well,
so
Norris Sellers, too.
Norris Sellers, too.
Oh, okay. So 6. Yeah, I'm completely looking at it wrong then.
Shout out to Avery Johnson, by the way. I have my only day covering recruiting. I interviewed Avery Johnson.
No,
nice.
Well, there you go.
I remember that day.
Not the former Alabama and San Antonio Spurs coach, or Dallas Mavericks coach, not Spurs. Mavericks.
Not the Doc Rivers mini-me guy who has the same voice as Doc Rivers.
Buckle your seatbelts.
I interviewed that Avery Johnson about Eric Musselman one time.
Oh, man. All right, folks. Well, let's go ahead and get into your chat here on the show, presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they're changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home. A doctor will come to your home for urgent care, primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. It's Basis Health. They are here for you when and where you need them the most. Learn more at basishealth.org today. All right, so get to a few of your chats here on the show. Let's see. We'll talk about because I got some other sporting things that's going on here too. But since we're talking about video games, Bo says, did y'all see that 2K is also making a college basketball game? Competition can give us the best possible game available. I did not see that. Did you guys see that?
I saw. I didn't see where they said they were doing it, but I saw some kind of little release. It was the same guy who put out the. I can't remember his name, but he put out the thing that basically told us it might be 2028 when the other game comes out. But it was like 2K's response to seeing that EA Sports did it. And they were basically like, not a direct quote, but we run the show with basketball video games here. And we're going to explore all of our options to continue to have our monopoly on this thing. So that may very well be the case. And if I was 2K, I'd just be trying to beat them to the punch. And they should be able to, because you already have all the infrastructure for players and arena builds and stuff like that. It's probably going to be a lot easier for them to just upload that stuff and make all the necessary tweaks than it will be for EA Sports to just develop the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm not biased. Whoever comes out first, I'm buying the game.
Yeah, I don't care, dude.
I do not care who it is. Just if it's 2K, if it's EA, whoever. But considering EA is like 3 years from now, 2K, surely you can do it, because you do it better than anybody when it comes to basketball, but surely you can find a way to get a game out before 3 years from now when it comes to college basketball. Surely that's the case.
I'm definitely intrigued by this because I even brought this up yesterday where I was like, man, it kind of seems like a missed opportunity for 2K because you already have the NBA game to kind of build that hybrid connection. And, 2K nowadays, I haven't bought 2K in like 3 years, but they now have like a separate, like they do a WNBA section of their game where it's like you can kind of do a season there. I feel like they should just put it all together. You know what I mean? Just put like one big game where it's like, hey, you've got your college guy, you can take him to 2K, you can take him to the NBA, declare for the draft. Oh, you want to go play in the WNBA for a little bit? All right, you can do that as well. Just mix it all together.
Yeah, and they'll end up charging a double for the video game because that's what they do.
3 discs. You remember those back in the day? They used to have those where like you'd get a thing that had just 3 discs.
Dude, I remember. It's so funny. I was talking to my buddies about this. I remember when it was a PlayStation 2 game and I wanted it for Christmas. And my parents were like, $40 for a video game. It's like it was Grand Theft Auto, like San Andreas or something like that. And they were just floored for $40. My man, $40 gets you like maybe a discounted video game on sale a year after it came out. So
how much did it cost you to pre-order college football? Did you get like the deluxe edition or whatever?
Yeah, I did. I shouldn't have, but
was it like $90?
Yeah, it was like $100 or something like that with taxes and everything. So I know the things I do for the company, to buy
3 days where you're going to play it before everyone else has access. That is going to be big.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, Chef Borley says, y'all going to have an online season on this new college football. Yes, I'm actually. So that's something that once I get the game and see how it looks, I think it'd be really fun where just we let pretty much y'all do it. Like we can maybe get involved, but just put one like an official Inside Arkansas deal of having a season and all that and kind of go through it and do some fun stuff with people who are involved and on here. And then we can have maybe something for somebody who wins. I give them a trophy, like an Inside Arkansas trophy.
Could we do like 124 team? I mean, like obviously we'd have enough people to fill it. Like literally everyone's like, we have like a meeting where it's like, hey, everyone gets one team and you're just that team for the year.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, depending on how many people we have want to sign up for it, we're all for it. So
I will say it's hard to keep up with these things. We would need to hire someone full time to run it. Because me and my buddies, we did an online league and we didn't get through like week 7 because you got to wait on everyone to play their game. Everyone's got to recruit. Everyone's got to do all this. And it's like, people just get caught up.
Yeah. Well, also too, it's like, like what was it? You guys were on message boards and stuff of mods. Like maybe just have a moderator for just hire like somebody. Hey, do our work for free. Do it that way. Maybe that happens. Let's see. Also, Ty says Satania is a top 5 overhyped wide receiver of my lifetime.
Is he that overhyped? Because I feel like we're like maybe the biggest Satania defenders in the media. And like, we don't really talk about Satania that much. Like when he transferred, we were like, oh, damn, that's surprising. We'd have thought Arkansas would want to bring back their, leading returning receiver. But like, if we're like the highest on Satania possible, and even we were just like, would be a nice guy to have back. Is he really that overhyped?
I never thought he was, but, and again,
Maybe
it's all
coming in.
Yeah. He had a little bit of buzz coming in.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, I mean, maybe I'm just throwing it out there, but I think too, because of course, the in-state element is always going to be there. He was a 4-star, I believe, wide receiver, but everybody just heard about his track speed, fastest. Right. And we never really got to see the quickness. We never got to see that element of it. So maybe that's where people talked about his hype, not his skill set, but more of his speed. Yeah.
And we had a lot of folks. I remember when he hit the portal who were saying that we were gassing him up too much and everything like that, just because we were like, he's basically the only returning guy who had caught a football and, and had some starting experience. So it would be nice to at least have that guy back and build on top of him or around him or whatever. People took that and were like, you guys think he's all SEC or something. You're idiots. Oh, not really. He's just kind of the only guy back and you want some level of continuity.
Arkansas ended up going out and getting some slot guys in Sharp and Shanks, both of which we talked about pretty glowingly, I would say, on this very program. I think you could have just not done that and run it back with Satania and had an adequate starting slot wide receiver who's your number 2, number 3 option, which is pretty much what he was last year. I think he would have been very solid in that type of role. I don't know what he's going to do at Oklahoma. But yeah, I'll never forget when he entered the portal, we got obliterated in the chat and they were like, why do y'all think this matters? This dude was never like he didn't have anything. And so I do know that like people don't like him, but I definitely don't think he's that overhyped. I don't know who's hyping him at this point.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure what that like where that comes from or anything, but sometimes it's just people have it in their own minds of how that is. But I will say though, I know we've been talking a lot of football, but we have also gotten a lot of other sports too and questions for basketball and baseball. But I did want to bring this up because it's super chat from Chaston. Hopefully that's how you say it. But it says off topic, but can you fill me in on what we think Souza will do next year, e.g. starter, production, etc., possible draft pick?
I would imagine Souza starts at second base. And if you just kind of look at everything else going on, by the way, the important worth noting, Cam Kojal, it may be a typo, I don't know, but they're doing a Team USA scrimmage at 2:30. He is listed in the starting lineup as a center fielder, which is a very new development. I've never seen Cam Kojal play center field. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's something they're going to plan to do, but I think they're going to move Kojal to either first base, third base, DH, corner outfield, something. And some of the other guys that Arkansas has brought in, like the shortstop Grego, I think him and Souza are the middle infield one way or the other. I think Souza might get a chance to start at shortstop. But I actually have an interview coming out with Peter Flaherty of Baseball America, who's it'll be on the Bombastic podcast today, but he was mentioning prospects for next year's draft and mentioned Nolan Souza, which just lets you know that I'm not crazy. There are actual draft guys out there who know there's a lot of buzz there. There's a lot of tools there. So I think he's going to be a starter, probably in the 6, 7, 8 range of the lineup. Good defender, no matter where he's going to be at. Really good athlete. I'm very bullish on Nolan Souza, but he's got to get healthy. I mean, he's coming off of a pretty bad shoulder tear. He's probably not going to be able to play much at all, if at all, in the fall. So we'll see what that injury timeline looks like, but hopefully he's healthy and we're able to see the best version of him next year.
Also, I guess we can use this because there's a few questions about this, but Andrew comes from Dakota. Andrew, what do we know about this baseball transfer? The most, which I can only assume is being referred to as the latest edition that Arkansas got, I guess, Zach Stewart from Missouri State.
Yeah. I think that MOST is supposed to be Missouri State.
Oh, okay. I thought so. Okay, got it.
But yes. No, Zach Stewart, by the way, I did put out an episode, a little quick, like 15-minute reaction to Zach Stewart, and we talked about him yesterday when detailing some of Arkansas's potential portal options. You know who he is, guys? He's Chris Lanzilli. Because you look at his college career, his sophomore year, he hits 300 and hits 21 home runs at Missouri State. He was draft eligible because he turned 21, like right around that same time. He had some buzz, and there was potential of like, hey, this guy might be a top 5-round pick as a sophomore. He ends up not finding a number, ends up not getting what he wanted, comes back to Missouri State and just did not have a great year. It wasn't a bad year, but his batting average dropped down to 270, only hit 11 home runs, and so a little bit, he strikes out a lot, and so there's some questions for him to answer about can he hit this level of pitching, although he did homer against Arkansas last year. But I'm talking about a guy that has 44 home runs in his career, left-handed bat, big, physical corner outfielder. There's a lot of projection. There's a lot of power there, and he's a kind of a fringe draft prospect already. I think coming to Arkansas and proving he can hit at the SEC level would be good for him. It seems like a pretty good fit. There's a lot of familiarity. He's a nearby kid. I don't think Arkansas is done in the outfield, but I think this is a really good starting spot for your kind of outfield dilemma that they have going on here.
Let's see. Also, for basketball, Cody says, Curtis, have you heard anything about us possibly being connected to Aiden Chronister?
Not there. I don't know that they've been pursuing him super hard since Coach Cal took over. They were definitely on him early with Eric Musselman. And this is a local kid in the 2026 class. And he is one who did leave the state. I think he was playing at Sunrise Christian, I think is where he wound up. But has been out there, and, he's a 4-star guy in the class and everything. I know he's been taking a lot of visits, and Arkansas hasn't been one of them so far. I think that they probably have their eyes on some bigger things at the moment. Not to say that Aiden's not good, because he's very good. And, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it wound up being a deal where if they get further on down the road and, you won another guy in your freshman class, or maybe you missed on somebody or didn't get somebody that you thought you were going to or you really wanted. And then you wind up doing the thing like they did with Isaiah Sealy, where they wound up taking him, and he wasn't even really super on the radar either during the summer. Then all of a sudden you land him, and now he's, a guy who kind of projects to be in your top 9 of your rotation or whatever. So Doesn't seem like a heavy pursuit right now. Doesn't mean that it can't materialize into something, but I'd be all for it.
Yeah,
6'7", wing, good player, good shooter, does a lot of good things on the basketball floor. I like him.
Yeah, and also I guess to that, only Kale was just like, "Hey, Curtis, any new basketball news? Are all guys on campus?"
Hey, I got this show. It's called The Pot at the Palace, and we talk basketball for 30 minutes every day during the week. You ought to check that out, man. I dropped an episode yesterday with just a good handful of nuggets about just some of the buzz coming out of summer practice, like who's been looking good, who's there physically, who's in shape, some different things like that. That might be a good one for you to check out. But outside of that, I mean, the roster is, for all intents and purposes, complete here. Everybody's on campus except the two new guys that they just got. So Elmer Zafich and Paolo Semedo, or at least they weren't on campus over the weekend. I mean, hopefully they get here sooner rather than later, start summer ball, but everybody else is there. Carter is back, and we're just kind of waiting on, the schedule to get finalized and everything, which we know about a lot of those good games. The Memphis exhibition sounds like it's going to wind up being a go. The Baylor game is a little iffy at the moment. We'll see if that thing holds up or not. But yeah, I mean, it's July, there ain't a whole lot going on. Keep an eye out though for some high school visitors. Peach Jam is this month, and so we'll see who Cal's out there sitting in the front row for, and then I'm sure they're going to be scheduling some visits with some of those big time dudes.
It never ceases to amaze me. Like, it cracks me up sometimes whenever people will like ask for info in a time where like you said, nothing is really happening. Like, and Curtis just rattled off like a bunch, like about as much as you can possibly have on your radar this time of year, but people never run out of questions to ask, and Curtis never runs out of information to give out to people. It's actually unbelievable, despite doing the show every day. And I'm not even bullshitting. It's crazy.
It was funny when I first saw the question there, and my first thought was, oh, he needs to check out maybe yesterday's episode, and then I was like, dude, it's July, not really. And then as I started thinking through it out loud, I was like, oh, actually, there's quite a bit going on. So
yeah, you can always find stuff. It's that's why we're the best in the business. We get creative with it when it doesn't look like anything's going on. Okay, so I did want to respond to this question, which is actually a good segue into what we're going to do next. But Jeff comes in and says, "Inside Arkansas, do y'all think, despite what the record will be at the end of the season, will it be statistically a better year than last year?" Of course, he's referring to football mainly, but I wanted to use this as part of us looking at our futures for BetSaracen, and they have the win totals and everything going on there at BetSaracen right now for the futures for the Razorbacks, and some interesting numbers that coming from that. And it's the number one sports betting app in the state of Arkansas for a reason, is because they have all the great deals that you could possibly have when it comes to specials, when it comes to those futures, when it comes to the, pretty much everything, parlays, everything like that. We appreciate their partnership. You can check them out by downloading the app on your iPhone or on your Android. You can also check them out online at BetSaracen.com. And so just looking at these guys, I'm curious what you guys think as far as the numbers and win totals and everything like that. But here's a little bit of a look of what it looks like. For regular season wins, you got 3+ regular season wins being at minus 1,500, probably a safe bet there. But then you have minus 650 for 4+ regular season wins, minus 210 for 5+ regular season wins. And then if you think that they're going to get into a bowl game, 6+ regular season wins at plus 115. And then you can actually get the exact regular season wins. It doesn't include bowl games, by the way, folks, just regular season. The exact wins, getting some betting on that. But what do you make of those bets and those numbers there? Anything stand out to you?
I mean, anytime you can get plus money to just make a bowl, you're just not in a situation that you need to be in as a program. That's kind of what stands out to me.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, it's funny is like, I think there might even be some other places, because win totals are always different wherever you go. Like, I think there might be some that even have it lower, where like the win total might be 4.5 or whatever. I would be, me personally, I really like the concept of this, exactly betting the exact totals of wins. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're getting, it's harder to do because, if you bet the over at 5.5, if they win 9 games, you're good. For that exact one's going to be tougher, but like odds wise, I think that would probably be the route to go, because I think we all agree there is a pretty definitive ceiling on this team. So it's like if you think they're gonna win 6 games, it's not like they're gonna win 10. You really got to worry about that. It's like it's gonna be 6 or 7 or in that range. So I'd probably be looking at those exact totals of trying to guess the exact regular season wins.
See, that's where I'm at because if this was basketball or something, like that's much more difficult. Like, I mean, because or baseball even, there's so many more games. But in football, as we know, like the difference of 6 wins and 7 wins is so monstrous. Like it is huge, the difference. But you can usually, because what was it last year? I think I said 7-5. Andrew said 6-6. Kersey said 5-7, and ended up being 6-6. So it's right there in the middle. But we were all close, 1 game off. So the point is that you can do a pretty good job of getting what the exact number would be, or at least a fairly close prediction. So yeah, I would look more at that than just getting what do you think the total amount's going to be? Because we'll have our official predictions and everything as we get towards the closer to the football season. But if you're somebody that thinks, hey, Arkansas is going to just barely miss a bowl game, hey, get plus money on it, man. Like Kurz was saying, you get plus money on all that stuff. Go ahead and knock yourself out. What's the worst that can happen? You be right. Or if you feel like, hey, it's going to be 5 or 6, bet both and you'll win no matter what. So that's what makes it pretty cool.
So what do we think?
No, go ahead, Curtis.
What do we think the 5 wins are that they're looking at? You know what I mean? Like if
so let's
like
think
it seems like they feel pretty decent about them getting to 5, but not so much getting to 6. So like there's got to be 5 there they feel pretty good about.
Alabama A&M, Arkansas State. You have
probably Memphis or no?
I would say probably Memphis.
Probably.
If you're assuming 5, I bet Memphis is in there, and then I bet
Mississippi State for sure.
Auburn.
I would say Auburn.
Yeah, maybe so.
But I think you also, you can just do the thing where you're like, hey, between Auburn, Missouri, and A&M or whoever, like they'll get 1.
They'll get 1. Yeah, that makes sense.
The odds are, to be fair, like very similar. Like 5 wins is plus 375, 4 wins is 425.
Yeah,
6 wins is also 425. So it's like they kind of view it the same way we do, of course. Me personally, guys, I like if you think, like, if you're of the belief, and I know there are a lot of people that listen that you think Arkansas is making a bowl game, I just think you go exactly 6 wins plus 425, and then if Arkansas wins 7 and you lose money on it, okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet that 5 though at the plus 375. That's the number I don't like, even though it might be the most likely number. I don't like the 5 number for some reason. I think it's 4 or 6.
Yeah. Well, like I was just saying, hey, even if it's just $5, if you say 5 or 6, bet $5 on 5, bet $5 on 6, and guess what? You win more money. You won. In fact, you could make an argument depending on what you do. You could bet $5 on every one of these things, and more than likely come away with money where you won your money back and then some. So,
by the way, we have a lot of people who listen to the show who disagree with everything we're saying, and we have the one side that says this is a 2-win, 3-win team at the most. If you believe this is a 2-win team, 2 wins or fewer plus 1,100. 3 wins would be plus 650. And then we have a lot of people who say 8-4. I've seen that number 8-4 a lot. 8 wins plus 850.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who are yapping.
Yeah, well, hey, literally put your money where your mouth is. Then, if that's what you think, and you can do it with BetSaracen. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up.
You can be right and rich.
That's right. Yeah, all the above. And also throwing into it too, guys, of real quick. I told Andrew this before the show started. On3 did their way too early projections and everything for bowl games, and they have Arkansas making a bowl game. So for what it's worth, going to the Gasparilla Bowl on December 1st or whatever.
Did we ever determine where that's at?
Isn't that the one that's in San Antonio or something?
That's not the one in Tampa. Aren't there 2 in Tampa?
Tampa.
It is Tampa. It is Tampa.
You're right.
Is it?
Okay.
So it's the Outback Bowl basically.
Yeah, same thing.
What did the Outback Bowl become? Because there's another bowl in Tampa, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what they changed it to, but yeah, there's 2 there.
The ReliaQuest Bowl is the Outback Bowl.
ReliaQuest. That's right.
Yeah. So anyway,
and so Gasparilla is in Tampa, but not the Outback Bowl.
Correct.
It's on the same range as Birmingham in Texas.
Just in the exact opposite way of how a lot of people got frustrated with us and called us haters for being disappointed about the Liberty Bowl just because it was the Liberty Bowl. People would be so pissed at me for gassing up going to the Gasparilla just because it's in Tampa. Congratulations on 6-6, dude. I would
We
beat
will
it.
have a time. What date did you say it was, John? Did you actually have
I
that?
think it was actually December 19th. Let me double check. But
Curtis, we fly. So the December 19th, that's right before the Brooklyn game, right? We fly from Tampa to Brooklyn.
It's the stuff of legends.
Get out of here, bro. That would be sick.
yeah, let's see. Let me make sure before people start yelling at me for being wrong on the dates. Yeah, December 19th is when that bowl game gets played. And they haven't playing Virginia Tech, by the way, in case you're interested in who they have the opponent. So anyways, so yeah, there you have it. Bowl projections coming out already. How about that? All right. So again, if you guys feel good about it, just go to BetSaracen and bet on all those win totals for Arkansas. But let's go ahead and get into who our heavy hitters are, presented by our friends over at HD Roofing and Construction. Storms can hit unexpectedly, as we all know, so be sure to contact HD Roofing for your peace of mind with a free inspection. When you choose HD Roofing, you can rely on that professionalism, top quality materials, and expert installation for all of your roofing needs. You can call them today at 501-428-0429, or you can check them out online at hdarkansas.com. All right, so for our heavy hitters, guys, it's sometimes we do sports, or let me rephrase it. Sometimes I do sports, sometimes I do non-sports. This one's non-sports. I wanted to play this yesterday, but we had so many other things to talk about. But this particular individual is my heavy hitter just because I don't care about anything else. This is just awesome. Yeah. Folks, that is the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard driving down here in a road on Somerset in front of a huge crowd, where it goes in the middle of the road, hits a ramp, and flies over a fountain and lands on the other side. The amount of memes that were made for the Dukes of Hazzard theme song was thrown out there. But I love this because, I don't know, I'm sometimes a child when it comes to things that entertain me. And I feel like stunts have really lost its way. I feel like stunts are not what they used to be. They need to make stunts great again. Evel Knievel stuff. One of my favorite comedy movies is Hot Rod. Love that movie. But just simple things like that just puts a smile on my face. I'm like, yeah, I love seeing a car generally flying over a fountain. So I just thought that was cool. I love the fact that they did it. I love the fact that it was the General Lee. I love the fact that it was over a fountain. I love the fact that there wasn't a bunch of controversy. But nobody was wearing helmets in the place. Like, what are they going to try to kill somebody? Like, just shut up and enjoy the stunt and have some fun with it. It was fine. So, anyways, heavy hitter General Lee going over a fountain in Somerset, Kentucky. Pretty cool stuff.
That's very cool. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that it was just the way that it happened there, where he clipped that beautiful blue water. Mm-hmm. Set a little splash out and everything. That was sick. Yeah, I like that. I was a stunt guy too.
Yeah, bring it back, man.
I love the jump over crazy things in a vehicle or whatever. That gets me really excited. But I get uneasy with the people who are like, oh, we're just gonna tightrope over the Grand Canyon or whatever. It stresses me out, man. It's a little bit too much.
Dude, David Blaine stuff, like David Blaine or whoever, Chris Angel, I guess maybe. Yeah, they do the stuff. I can't help but watching it no matter what. I'm like, dude, like when it was David Blaine would put like gasoline or whatever in his esophagus and blew fire. I'm like, yeah, I know that probably killed you, but yeah, that's awesome. So, yes.
John, what this video reminded me of? It reminded me of on New Year's Eve when Travis Pastrana used to do this, where he would jump over a football field or whatever. He'd be like on a dirt bike or something like that and would go over a football field. And then one year for New Year's, he did this crazy like half pipe trick that he did right at New Year's. Like, I like stuff like that. I like stuntmen. I like Evel Knievel. Like, I like when people do stuff like just crazy stuff that you don't even have to explain it. You can just look at it and that's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was my heavy hitter though for today.
I like it. Shams, I mean, he's got to be a heavy hitter, right? There are no more Woj bombs. It's not a thing. It's all about the Sham God now. It's pretty cool to see him. I've got the noties on. Exactly. Got the noties on. He's taken the spotlight now, and it's one thing after another for that dude. It's pretty cool, honestly, to see him, because he was he on like the like the Action Network thing or whatever, like the same thing that Brett McMurphy was doing. I know he just got picked up. He could be a heavy hitter too. But his career has taken off, and the man Woj just leaves at the perfect time for him to reach up to the peak of his powers. I'm happy for him.
I'm happy for him too. And Shams has been doing this for a while. Like you said, he's had to like work his way up. He's been grinding to get to this spot. I feel like the Luka trade is officially when like we all collectively acknowledge Shams as the guy. Like that was like, I mean, he's obviously been breaking NBA news for a while. He's had plenty of big scoops, but that was such a big moment where that Shams tweet changed the world. I mean, literally, we were in a post-game show of Arkansas, Kentucky, and we talked about it because Shams tweeted it out. You know what I mean? Like that's how big of like his name now is. Same with Woj, like where it's you kind of just associate him. Anytime he tweets, it's like, oh crap, I got to read this. He also has low key rizzed up Kay Adams on multiple occasions. Have y'all noticed this?
Yes, he
like
has.
3 or 4 times she's been like giggling nervous talking to Shams. I have no choice but to respect him, man.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So my heavy hitter is a young man by the name of Colby Thomas. I was not aware of his existence until last night at about midnight. He went to Mercer, worked his way quickly through the athletic system, made his MLB debut last night, came in and pinch hit, and I think he like grounded out, popped out, but then he was playing left field in a 4-4 game. First ball hit to him in his major league career. Pulls out a janitor throw.
Into left field, and it's going to get in front of Colby Thomas. Here comes the throw home. The tag made.
You can't see because it's put up in the middle, but he tagged him out at the plate. 2 outs in the 8th inning, full-on janitor throw. That play right there is basically like what every kid dreams of doing. Like when you're in the backyard or you're at the park playing with your buddy, you kind of like do this situation where you're like, oh, dude, do or die, gotta go home with it. Like let's do that. Like I'm gonna try and throw it as hard as I can. Like it's so cool to see, like when you get that opportunity for that to be the first ball hit to you in your big league career, first inning you've played, and it's like boom, 4-4, gonna do it at the plate. I love a good janitor throw.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think I asked Tyler Spoon this one time, if like as a player, like as an outfielder, like what's better, robbing a home run or like hosing a dude? And like he said, hosing a dude, but like to have the janitor throw like that too. Yeah, that's the good stuff. That's a great one. That's a great one for that. Actually, also another heavy hitter, real quick, guys. Happy Barry Bonilla Day. I mean, it's the ongoing thing. I don't care what anybody says. I know it's a running bit that everyone's probably tired of hearing about, but every July 1st from 2011 to 2035, the Mets pay him $1.19 million where he hasn't played for them since 1999. So just still the greatest contract that's ever been signed in the history of sports. Like has to be at least one of the things where, I mean, it's a retirement plan that you can't really even fathom of how awesome it is. So shout out to him. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. It is always funny when that comes across my timeline. I'm like, oh, it's that time of year again. 10 years left of it, man. That's crazy. That must be nice for him too, because I'm sure he counts on this for his well-being, right? Like that's just, he's like, hey, I make $1 million a year or whatever, and like all year long, you just know it's like, hey, I get to spend this $1 million or whatever. Because he's probably running a little bit thin. It's like, oh yeah, July 1st is just around the corner.
Yeah, it's like it's be like, oh man, I got to make it to July. May need to slow down a little bit here too. I wonder. I'm sure it has, but if the Mets have like tried to negotiate, be like, hey, buddy, like we can give you this lump sum if we just cut it out and not have. But also at the same time, $1 million roughly is nothing compared to the rest. So maybe they'll just do it with it. But still, yeah, it's a pretty cool contract. I don't want to throw that out there.
Just see the dude for the Red Sox last night. He had an inside the park home run and a grand slam in the same game.
Wow.
Abreu, Wilyer Abreu.
Was it at Fenway?
That I don't know.
I was trying to think. I'm like thinking of Fenway's field, and I'm like, how do you even hit an inside the park home run there? It's kind of a tough field to find a little crevice in.
Seriously.
And how who are they playing? I guess would be the key.
The Reds. They were playing the Reds. I know that.
Oh, dude. Chase Burns. So I had a buddy. Weirdly enough, I have a buddy who doesn't even watch baseball, but he texted me and he's like, hey, lock of the day, no runs first inning, Red Sox Reds. and it was Chase Burns versus Garrett Crochet. Chase Burns gave up 7 runs in the first inning.
Yikes.
Got pulled after 2 outs. And it was in Fenway, by the way.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. So we'll get to more of your chats, folks, here in a second. But, we've been having some fun dealing with our summer topic discussion. And we got some more today for you. And, of course, some people have been submitting their own summer topic discussions. We appreciate it. We'll talk about that. But it's presented by our friends over at Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas, where, hey, with the summer being here, you want to spend time out on the water, out on a lake. And when you do that, it's like kind of nice to have a boat. You kind of probably need that. But maybe you don't own a boat. Well, that's okay, because Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas is going to have you covered. They give you access to the boats without the commitment, and it's the way that you can have it where it's stress-free. You don't have to worry about the maintenance. You don't have to worry about the upkeep. You don't have to worry about getting a slip. You just show up, get on your boat, go out, come back in, put up the boat, you're done. Simple as that. They have 3 locations in Arkansas. Lake time is right here. It's right now. So whether you prefer Greers Ferry Lake, Lake Hamilton, or a day on the river, and Little Rock Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas will help make your summer the natural state the best one yet. You can check out their website at freedomboatclubar.com. That's freedomboatclubar.com today, and learn more about the benefits of joining the club, or you can scan that QR code up there in the top right corner of the screen. So, all right. So we do sports, food, entertainment, and of course we'll have some chats and get into everything too. But, somebody submitted this one yesterday, which I had on my list, but I figure it's like, all right, well, if they're wanting to hear about it, we'll do it. But for the sports related, what is the greatest Razorback atmosphere you have ever been a part of in any sport? As far as like being there in person, what is the greatest Razorback atmosphere in any sport?
Game coverage would have been, it's the Auburn game at Bud. Going as a fan, I'm just doing basketball here, would have been, I've talked to you guys about this before. So when Arkansas hosted Tennessee at Bud Walton Arena, it was Gafford, Macon, Barford, that team. That was just, and maybe it was my first experience of just a real rocking crowd at Bud. I couldn't hear myself think. It was hot in there. I was sweating. My head was hurting. It was so loud. That atmosphere, I'll just never forget that day. It was incredible. So those would be the 2 for hoops that jump off the page for me.
Yeah, I think the best game I've ever covered and been a part of the atmosphere would be that Auburn game as well. Like, that was like just a special, and I don't know, maybe I just remember it more fondly than it was, but I just find myself about once a week thinking about that night and how crazy it was. As a fan, this is probably a weird one that I don't know if I've ever heard anyone reference this as a great atmosphere. 16, Arkansas Ole Miss. They end up winning, I think 34-30. Jared Cornelius had a touchdown in like the final 2 minutes. And then there was like it was Chad Kelly was there, and they had a huge sack. It was a back and forth game. That was an awesome game. And I remember only paying like $8 for my ticket, for an upper deck ticket. And I was like in like section 580 or something like that. But me and my brother were there, and it was crazy loud there. And this was also a time of my life where I was a freshman in college. I was not getting up to Fayetteville as much as this is when I first got to the point where I had the option to drive up to Fayetteville. And so I started being like, I'm just going to drive up to Fayetteville and go to games. And so now I kind of take it for granted being able to go to all these sporting events all the time. But at this point in my life, it was one of the first football games I had seen in Fayetteville. Honestly, it was like only the 4th or 5th time I'd been up there, because most of the games I went to as a kid were Little Rock. And so I just remember me and my brother making kind of a last-second decision the week before. We were like, hey, Friday, let's just drive up and do it. And we did it. And so it was just like a very fun weekend, but also crazy loud atmosphere that I think people forget about, because that team ended up being mid.
Yeah. I remember being at all those games you guys mentioned, and especially that Tennessee game, Curtis. That was a good one to go to, because as far as just like a random game, not to say it wasn't a big game, but just a random game. I remember craziest thing about the game, real quick. Arkansas was up by 11 points with less than a minute to go, and they only won by 2. So
that was wild.
Curtis, the loudest moment of that game outside of the Dan Gafford dunk, Beard 3. And he might have even banked it in. I really don't remember. It was
he hit it in the corner.
That's when, when Anton Beard hits a 3 in crunch time, that's when you know you're losing.
It
as
wasn't
an opponent of Arkansas.
Time.
You're like, oh.
It pissed me off that he did it. I'm glad he made it. But it was like, hold the ball, dude. You got time. He's just with 25 seconds left on the shot clock, just heaves it, and he goes in. It's one of the very few that seemed like he made, but still, that was a great atmosphere.
And so I'll tell you the worst atmosphere that I ever experienced for a decently important game was going into Bud Walton Arena and doing the stupid Belk Bowl watch party that bled over into that Florida game for basketball that they also lost.
Conference opener.
Kayvon Allen and like that was not fun.
That was one of the worst days you could have as a Razorback fan right there.
Man.
I have an underrated one, and this is actually a loss. 2008 football, Ole Miss. Houston Nutt comes to town for the first time. And I remember me and my dad having like a long discussion on the way up to the game about whether or not we would boo Houston Nutt. Because my dad is, a pastor. He's a man of faith. He doesn't want to boo another grown man, especially one that he cheered for. But I was like, Dad, we have to. And my brother was in the back like, F them, we're booing them. Like, it was going crazy. That was a crazy atmosphere, and Arkansas got screwed on a pass interference call in the fourth quarter there. But and they wound up losing the game. Shea Haddock, I think, missed 7 field goals. But it was a fun time.
Yeah. No, I as you guys are probably not surprised, I got one for each of the major sports. For baseball, to me, it's not necessarily surprised, but Nebraska, Charlie Welch's home run. I mean, in baseball, like, it's hard to beat that. Basketball wise, this one was tough, man, because I've been in a lot of great atmospheres. Like, I was in the front row of the student section for the Qualls putback dunk, and that atmosphere was great, but it was more about the moment than it was the entire game.
Sure.
But to me, the number one Auburn coming to town, because like no one sat down the entire game. Like, it was just intense and overtime and everything. So that was probably that, or that same year or the year before, that Kentucky game when Cal got ejected. Man, like I'll never forget that. To me, still to this day, is the loudest single moment in Bud Walton history is when Cal got ejected in that game. Because when you got the dude having to do this on Kentucky because he has tinnitus now, like, that's incredible. But far and away, I've said this before, I'll say it again, football wise, 2010 Alabama. We camped out for all week for that game. I was in the student section. I got front row. Like, everything was so intense. And the build-up, because you were number 10, Bam was number 1, that Heisman Trophy winner, Mark Ingram, they had the defending champs, and you just had the Child's Police play the week before. And, the build-up and excitement was there. But then, man, I still gives me chills just thinking about that Ronnie Wingo wheel route, man. Oh, golly, I miss those days. I miss being good in football. That was really fun. Anyways, so those were some of the great atmospheres there. Let's see. Also, getting into we'll do entertainment because this is kind of still relevant. Just, what is the greatest movie theater experience you've ever had? Now, Andrew, I know you're just chomping at the bit because I have an idea of what yours may be, but
I've probably told it to y'all 12 times.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I thought. But just, again, it doesn't have to be like, oh, what's the best movie? But just something where it's like you felt like you were almost at an amusement park, like a ride. Like, is there a movie theater experience you remember having that was just awesome?
I wish I remembered the first IMAX movie I went. I just don't remember what it was, but I remember it being a really cool experience. But mine's more about kind of like the moment and who I was with. I remember I have 2, and one of them was the premiere of Coach Carter, and it was right after I got my first car, Buick Century. Loved that thing, 92. And was able to just load up a bunch of my buddies from the basketball team, drive to Searcy, Arkansas, which is where the closest movie theater was, and watch that. It was like my first, hey, you got your driver's license, you got a car, and you're taking this little trip type of deal. And it was a great movie. So that one, and then going with Michelle to Sausage Party. And the number of parents who brought their kids there thinking it was something that it's not. And I just laughed. I was in tears the entire time, like, just horrified parents, kids asking questions. What does this mean? It was chaos in there. It was the one time in my life that I wasn't upset that people were being loud during a movie. Epic stuff, man. Had a blast.
Dude, when I went and saw Sausage Party, there was like the lights went out. Like, there was a pause and stop. There was a stoppage in play because there was like a light went out or something. And I remember like the whole crowd, again, you're watching a very bizarre movie. We're all just kind of left there to like look around at each other while the lights are on. Like, the little emergency lights came on. I've got too many for these. John, you go first. I've got too many. I've got my list is too long.
Okay. Well, I will say that, to your point, Curtis, this is not mine, but like going and seeing the Wolf of Wall Street with your dad, it was quite an experience. Saw that one. Yeah, that Margot Robbie scene we all know about is just like, oh, like, man, it's just like, I wonder what time it is. Like, look on here. Like, anyways, honestly, like, to me, maybe it's just because it's the most memorable, but like with the IMAX thing, I remember the first movie that I saw in IMAX was The Dark Knight. And like, talking about one of the most iconic movies of all time, and the excitement I had for it because of the deal with like Heath Ledger and, the of course passing away, but also just seeing the trailer and everything. Like, man, dude, this has got potential. And then, seeing it in that big screen, and I'll never forget, I nearly like got shook on 2 occasions in that movie. One, when I guess it's because we watched it in Lexington, I believe, right? Didn't we watch The Dark Knight in Lexington? Yeah.
So it led to the whole reset of the TV.
Yeah, let's not forget that. But the scene where it's the look at me and then the look at me, that thing got like freaked me out. And then the scene in the interrogation room was just, man, it's hard to beat. So anyways, that to me was the one that always stood out of the IMAX, the movie, the action, the performance, like everything. It's probably my number one.
Okay, so I've got 3, and then I got an honorable mention. So the number one for me, like for sure, just because like I remember the day so vividly. There was a tornado in Ruston that day, but driving, I had bought tickets to Avengers Endgame like a week before because this movie made like 2.5 billion. It had been sold out for a while, so I'd get my tickets ahead of time. And then there was a tornado, so we couldn't go to the theater that I had bought the tickets to. But luckily, I called a theater in Monroe, and I was like, listen, I bought these tickets. Like, come on, just like hook me up. They did hook me up. And so I got to go. We went. We actually, there was like a curfew in the city of Ruston, but me and my best friend John went and saw it. And that was crazy. It felt like a sporting event, like watching the culmination of all those movies and Thanos and this big war, all the characters.
Real quick, Andrew, just have one quick question. Did you go crazy and applaud and stand up and freak out whenever like the ending credits happened? Were you that guy?
I don't know if I stood up, but like I think I was seated the whole time, but like there was some clapping going on for sure. Okay. Like throughout the movie, especially again, like when your team scores a touchdown, you stand up and cheer. Whenever a bad guy is killed, you stand up and cheer. It really did feel like that. And again, it was opening night, so you had just the biggest nerds ever. There's people dressed up as freaking Iron Man and stuff. It's always cool. And kind of going off of that, again, the movie was maybe not, and the movie actually, I do enjoy this movie, The Force Awakens. The rest of the sequel trilogy ruined it, but that day though, and John, you can attest to this. I know we all hate the sequel trilogy, and it left us with a weird sour taste. But in 2015, when it was the first Star Wars movie in 10 years, and the first one I got to go to like as an adult, like that was a big deal, and it was a lot of excitement in the theater. My 2 honorable mentions actually. Me and my buddy John, when we were kids, I remember we got our parents to take us on a double date to go see the second Narnia. And so when I was like 12 years old, going on a double date to the movie theater to go see Narnia was pretty sick. And then me and John, a few years later, we went and saw the first Avengers movie. We went on a double date with these girls, but I remember they told us after, they said, y'all can't tell anyone that we went on this date. And we were like, damn, they curved us after. But that first Avengers movie was lit too. It was a big deal. We were like, holy cow, all these characters on the screen together at the same time.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't think I've had some bad experiences in movies, but yeah, it's very selective too. Also, my honorable mention real quick, Top Gun Maverick, seeing that in IMAX. Holy crap. That blew my pants off. All right.
Andrew, if it makes you feel any better, my only experience getting catfished was a movie blind date. She was using her sister's photos.
Was she just hideous?
Hefty, no shame, but
I mean, to be fair though, like going to a movie, if you're going to go on a date that's like a date you don't want to be on, a movie's probably the one you want to go to because you don't have to speak at all.
Yeah.
Started the Michael Scott thing. Is like if she was on a canoe with me, would one side be like way other than the other? Phyllis, it makes me feel weird. You're not answering the question. It's what it reminded me of. Oh man. All right. We'll get to your chats and finally real quick. Food. This one may be a little bit more tough to think about, but what is the one food item that seems to be universally accepted or liked, but you can't stand, you don't like, but one that seems like everybody else does?
I'm glad that I saw you posted these a little bit earlier. It gave me some time to think about this one because it's the hardest one yet for me. I'm an eater. I'm not picky at all. And so I found a list of the top 50 favorite foods in America. And literally the only one that I don't mess with is tuna fish. And I don't believe tuna fish is really a favorite for that many. Like, it's not a popular favorite. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm not crazy about pork outside of bacon. I'm not crazy about a ham or pork chops or tenderloin, but I eat it. I just don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. So I don't know that I have a great answer to this of like a super popular food. The only thing in the world that I just cannot, will not, and refuse to do is cottage cheese. And I don't think that's a favorite for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say those fit as universally accepted. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think everyone's like, we're all going to cottage cheese meetings on the side.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, I think I have an answer for this one. And it's not that I hate it that much. And I wouldn't even say I can't stand it. But sushi to me is probably this where, I understand why some people like it. And then, it's aesthetically pleasing and all that. Cool. I love seafood. And I'm like, if we're going to eat seafood, why would I want it to be this? Why would it not just be like shrimp, lobster? Like, I don't know. Like, if we're going to eat fish, let's eat fish. We don't have to put these little balls here and, put a little decoration together. And then, I don't know. I feel like it's like, let's just go give me some shrimp,
Okay. No, that's listen, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, this one is tough. And again, it's about like, what's universal, and some people may argue, but the two that stood out to me, one, meatloaf. Cannot stand meatloaf. Do not like meatloaf. Mike.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking of meatloaf.
We want it now. What is she doing? I never know what she's doing back there.
Meatloaf.
But because my mom used to make, my brother loved it. Everyone in the family loved it, but I hated it, man. I just hate meatloaf. I'm like, what a waste of good, fine meat. You could just do so many other greater things than that. So that, and also maybe my most controversial one, guys, s'mores.
Ooh, this is a bad
I do not
take.
like s'mores.
Really?
Do not like s'mores.
Which part do you not like? The marshmallow part?
This is an important answer that you have to give here.
I think this is where I'm like stupid, because I love graham crackers. I like chocolate. I don't love chocolate. I like chocolate. And marshmallows are fine. But together, I just don't like the combo. I don't like the stickiness of it, I guess. I don't like the way it tastes. I just don't like it.
I'd be lying if I said I loved the stickiness of it, because it is is a messy adventure. It is a cool concept though. Out on the campfire, out in nature.
I get it, but it's just not. It's not my thing. I'm not a s'mores guy, so yeah, that doesn't make me un-American. If that makes me un-American, then I guess so.
Do you like s'mores flavored things though?
Nah, not really. No.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those deals.
Do you do hot chocolate with marshmallows?
No. Don't like hot chocolate.
John, they're not s'mores, they're Celestes.
Oh, in that case. No, but also that's another one too. I don't like hot chocolate. So that's things like chocolate I'm very particular on. But hot drinks I'm not a huge fan of in general, except like coffee, if it's needed, but maybe apple cider. I can deal with that, but other hot drinks, nah, I pass on it. So anyways.
Wow.
I'm getting wrecked in the chat, but that's fine. I'll own it, but that's okay. Between that and apparently, I don't know what was going on, but apparently there was from Ty. So we'll get into the chat. I want to just bring this up because Ty said, July 4th, Inside Arkansas hot dog eating contest. Who would down the most glizzies? Just somehow it turned into me, and then it turned into people giving me a nickname for what I would be. And it's just like I just didn't even look at the chat, and then suddenly I just see all these names popping. I'm like, what happened?
I'm glad you brought this up, John, because I saw the repercussions, but I didn't see this. I just kept seeing stuff about John being the Glizzinator and all this. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like
the crazy thing about this is
Glizzatron.
It's me and Andrew who have been spotted with the glizzies the most. Now, I think someone caught you in the wild. Eating one, John, maybe at a basketball game or something. So that's,
like that.
You were also taking them out of the bosom of a random woman, or maybe you just saw her. Maybe you just saw her with him. Never mind. You didn't.
Her. Yeah, please. Let's make sure we get that clear.
This is like the telephone game. Yeah, John was at Von Walker, and he was eating hot dogs out of this woman's cleavage.
It honestly is kind of crazy how much we've talked about hot dogs on this program. Period. Like just across seasons too, because we've done it during basketball season, during baseball season. It's the summertime when we're talking hot dogs. Like we talk about hot dogs a lot on this show.
And Andrew's the only one that every time he gets photographed at Balm, he's by a fan. He's got hot dogs
for sure.
He's got hot dogs in his hand. So, but yeah, I just started seeing that, like the Glizzosaurus, like Logan was saying. I'm just like, good grief. Okay, relax, everybody. Just relax.
Oh man.
But anyways, that happened. So some other chats that we will get into here. Smitty just said, John has me questioning how to spell Woo Pig. Is it 2 O's or it's 3? It's 2. It's 2. The U of A and all this crap, there's 3. No one says Woo Pig. It's Woo Pig. It's 2. Whoa, that's 2 O's. So
here's the thing: it's either 2 or like 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna, because really you're saying woo, but it's like that's way more than 3. 2 is what you start with, and then
and I don't know why and it used to be that. I don't know why they changed it. They just like, let's do 3 O's. Why?
It's 2 O's, but the bottom O it's a repeating. You have the line underneath it that's like O repeating.
Yeah, repeating, of course. Yes, something like that. Our sweet Arkansas gal comes in. She says, you get your choice of season tickets to one Razorback sport for life. What is your choice? Football for me. But that's just
football because I'd be able to flip those bad boys.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, baseball probably just because there's so many of them.
Do I need to answer?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I feel like
honestly, basketball actually might be my real answer because it has the perfect middle ground. One, I mean, I go to all the sporting events anyway, but like basketball, you could flip those and make a lot of money too. If you had that mentality of like, listen, I'm just trying to turn a profit, you can turn a profit with basketball season tickets fairly easily.
Yeah, that's true too.
I love that I immediately went to like how much money I could make off of this proposition.
not to go to the games, but anyway, listen, that's what everybody does. They buy season tickets and then they're like, well, I'll just go to the games that are good. And then the rest of them I'll sell or give away or not even do anything with them. So
it would be hard to beat Gucci Row at Bud. If you get some season tickets in there.
Mm-hmm. Although on the football side of things, like, the north end zone or whatever, you get all the beer and all the food that you want. And you can go into the concourse where it's air conditioned or heated. So there's an element to that. It's pretty nice. So, but yeah, season tickets to any of the events would be pretty cool. Let's see. Also, Ty says, no, this is one. It says, Inside Arkansas members only stream will debut in 2028. Now just relax. This is going to be happening next week. The main thing is that I'm trying to do is make sure that whatever we decide on giving away and all that, we have all together so we can let everybody know what we're going to be giving away. But it's going to be happening next week. It's kind of a, right before SEC media days and then, kind of after the holidays. So we'll make it happen. Don't worry. But I don't want to make sure be like, hey, we're going to do this. What are you giving away? No clue. So we want to put it together, make sure we're prepped and planned and ready to roll for that. Also, girl Tamara says, I watched Cal on the Penny Hardaway podcast yesterday. Sounds like they're trying to get an exhibition game with Memphis. So I think that was discussed before, right?
Yeah. Did you guys listen to that, by the way?
Mm-mm.
I saw clips, but I didn't watch the full thing.
The glaze from Penny Hardaway onto Cal was crazy.
Mm.
I mean, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. But there was some really good stuff in there. I mean, it was just those two guys were riffing, and Cal was doing a lot of his normal things and, kind of playing the hits there, but he was really, really relaxed. He must have said the word like 25 times. And he was vibing, man. It was good. It was pretty good.
Oh, I have to go back and have to watch that then.
And they were talking about that Memphis exhibition and everything. And it was kind of funny because Penny is basically like, oh, hey, thanks for that. Like we're really excited about it and everything. And he was like, yeah, we'll do it, but I'm not doing this unless you get all my people there. Like I've got 50, guys from Memphis or whatever. You get my people there and then I'll do this for you. This don't mean shit to me. Like, I was just like, dang. So it was very interesting kind of the way he put it out there. And Penny's just like, oh yeah, for sure. So,
also shout out to Corey Dubs for being a member, speaking of, for 2 months, as well as our guy Logan being a member for 2 months. So appreciate you guys. Again, I need to look up what the new avatars that you guys got going on, but it doesn't show it on our software here. I know it's on YouTube, so we'll have to check that out. Also, too, real quick, two people on Twitter wanted to give their food takes real quick of one that they say is universally loved but not liked. One person said McDonald's French fries, and I can't stand for that one, man. That one's bad. Like your mother has never made anything as amazing as a McDonald's French fry.
I'm a McDonald's lifer, bro. Anybody that like comes at me and they're like really like trying to act like they don't rock with McDonald's. I don't have time for that. There's not the type of people I want in my life.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I really eat from McDonald's,
Yeah.
like religiously.
That's the only thing you can count on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Burgers are
That's a better way to put it.
If you're anti McDonald's burgers, cool. If you're anti chicken, I disagree, but I can at least I know people that don't like it. The fries, you should be universal.
Chicken's good, fries good.
Yeah. Only thing that I really have an issue with McDonald's is why they don't have Coke Zero. Like every other restaurant that has Coke products has Coke Zero, but for whatever reason, McDonald's has refused to say, even though they're a Coca-Cola company, we don't want Coke Zero. Don't understand it, but not that it matters or anything in the end. And also too, this one was not a food, but I don't think someone understood. But someone said sweet tea. I'm also don't like sweet tea, so I guess I'm in that element too for ones that are pretty, well known, but not one that people are.
I saw. I think it might have been Tamara that said milk, and that I would be like, I don't think I've ever in my life just drank a glass. I'll put it on cereal or whatever, but
yeah, it has to be with something like that or a brownie or like cookies. But yeah, I can't just drink a thing of milk by myself.
One of my best friends growing up, their family at dinner when they would have dinner every night, like at the table, like an actual family, just put a big old gallon of milk and everyone's got their cups and like that was just the beverage of choice. I like milk for the most part, but I never drink it raw dog.
No, it ain't doing it for me. If you were gonna drink milk though, what kind of milk you getting?
Oh, whole. I want the full cow.
Oh.
No, but I drink 2% more than anything though.
Same.
Mostly because the people I live with throughout my life, whether it's my mom or her girlfriend or whoever, they typically don't want whole milk.
Yeah, it's just like drinking yogurt. Always felt like for that. All right, real quick before we get out of here, Jeremy just wants to say, Curtis, do you believe the years we went overseas helped build us build teamwork for the upcoming season?
Actually no. if I really think about that trip they just had, that's the entire point. And it's good for them to travel, and I'm sure they bonded and everything like that. But like that particular trip that they took a couple years ago, it was like, well, that's where Nick Smith initially hurt his knee. That's where they figured out that Muss hated the Mitchell twins, and we thought Kamani Johnson was going to be the starting center. That's where Jalen Graham fell out of favor. That's where they thought they loved Barry Dunning, and then they didn't. So really, we learned a lot of lies about the team from that particular trip. So it's definitely meant to be that, and I'm sure that's the experience that most teams have. But it was kind of like it was cool in the moment, but it was almost like it cursed the season until they figured it out at the end.
I also think like obviously going out and playing games helps. It's not like if they don't go overseas, they don't do anything together. They're still practicing, they're still doing stuff. And I know you get like set times and stuff, but it's like, I think that a lot of times it's like, if you're relying on the trip to form your team chemistry and like really like, you're not going to introduce the guys to each other. Like reality is like, you're on campus, you're doing stuff. Hell, some of these guys might even spend more time together in, more authentic ways if they're still in Fayetteville together. Whereas sometimes when you're on a trip with people you don't know, I don't know, sometimes it's a little bit awkward.
Yeah. And and they do these things, like you were saying, like they get together outside of their practices and everything. And I know that they go over to Cal's house a lot and hang out there and bond. They still do all those things with Cal. They don't promote it as much as they did with Muss. Like they don't do ice cream Fridays and naked kickboxing or whatever the hell they would do on a given Friday over there. So they were big on have fun Fridays, and they would get a little bit weird with it, but they still have their bonding moments outside of traveling abroad.
Naked kickboxing. Hopefully not.
Shirtless kickboxing, hot yoga.
Oh. Yeah. I'd say the rumors. I'm not going to get into it. And then finally, Scooby Doobies says football sucks. Andrew, who are our top portal prospects in baseball right now? And do you think the next team will be as good as this past year's team?
It's tough. I'll wait until they fill out the roster and we really see, like, all right, what's our projected lineup? What's it looking like? I will say this time last year, a lot of the guys who wound up being monsters for Arkansas on the field, like a Cam Kojal, like a Logan Maxwell, like even a Charles Davalon, I don't think if we were having this conversation last year, we would have forecasted that much production for them. I'm not saying that to like mean that like, hey, these guys this year are going to be that good or better. It's just like sometimes it's tough. Like in July, you look at what you have on paper and you feel good about it. Doesn't really pan out that way. But in terms of next targets, Damian Ruiz, I feel like is the top one in my opinion, at least from the outfield perspective. From Lamar, had a breakout year, hit 388 there, also walked 50 times. Now he only hit 7 home runs, but he had over 20 doubles. This guy checks a lot of boxes of like a perfect missing piece for the lineup. Would he replace all of Charles Davalon's production? I don't know, maybe not, but he would be a leadoff hitter type of guy. He visited Mississippi State, visited LSU. Now he's at Arkansas. That's definitely like a notable name that other people want. That I think Arkansas is in there. He's 6'1", 170, kind of projectable too. He might be my top priority. And a guy I talked about yesterday on the podcast, TJ Pompey from Texas Tech, who got hurt this past year. Big time prospect in his recruiting class. Big time draft potential going into next year. He would be the most ideal Brent Iredale replacement that I could honestly think of. And then just a couple other outfielders that I really like. I think if you're not getting Justin Thomas Jr. back, you're going to need a center fielder. I think Will Gasparino from Texas, who we actually talked about on the show about 10 days ago. And I said, actually, I haven't heard anything. I think it was kind of long believed that he was going to go back to the West Coast from California. There's no longer any buzz with him to UCLA. I don't know if that's just a smokescreen. I don't know, but Arkansas has definitely made contact with him. I think that everyone's going to be interested in him. Braden Dowd from USC would be another potential center field replacement if you don't get Justin Thomas Jr. back. But there's a lot of interesting fish out there, in the sea.
All right, well, fellas, we get out of here. Any final thoughts before we roll?
No, I don't think so.
Go Hogs.
All right, that may have been the shortest final thoughts we've ever had, but yeah, there you have it. And I don't have any final thoughts either, so I can't say anything other than appreciate you all for tuning in. And it's going to be an interesting month here in the month of July, but we appreciate everyone tapping in with us and having some fun with us and being able to be a part of it every day. So be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas. Sure to subscribe to all of our audio podcasts wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, or the Bombastic Podcast. You can also check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas, and we'll keep it going from there. So for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.